Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday! So for today's video, I wanted to talk about some books that I have randomly stumbled across in Barnes & Noble and ended up loving. So let's get started. So the first book I want to talk to you guys about today is Frat Girl by Kylie Roche. And this book I stumbled across at the beginning of this summer. The title popped out to me while I was casually browsing the stacks at Barnes & Noble, and it instantly piqued my interest. Because I am a sorority girl and I find intrigue about different fraternity and sorority stories, I instantly picked it up and read the back, and I loved that it focused on so many different feminist topics while also kind of playing devil's advocate in favor of Greek life. As someone whose Greek life has been constantly scrutinized by outside parties, it was really nice to read a book that was able to talk about both sides of the story. So the positivities of Greek life, but also some of the negativities that are focused on a lot. And it was just such an interesting find, and I really recommend you read it if you like feminist books, but also just interesting books about university. The next book I want to talk to you guys about is called A Study in Charlotte, and it is written by Brittany Cavallaro. Now, if you like Sherlock Holmes, this book is one for you. It is about Sherlock Holmes's great-great-great-granddaughter, Charlotte Holmes, and her adventures with Jamie Watson, who is Watson's great-great-great-grandson. And it is a 4-book series. I have only read up to the 3rd book currently because the 4th book is still in hardback and I am cheap and won't buy it until it comes out in paperback. And this book is just so entertaining if you like mystery sprinkled with a bit of romance. I am a huge Sherlock fan, so reading this book was so interesting. It has the murder, it has the typical Sherlock Holmes case and the witty banter between Holmes and Watson, but it's also really cool because you finally get to see somewhat of a relationship dynamic between Jamie and Charlotte. So I definitely recommend A Study in Charlotte. The next book I'm going to talk to you guys about is To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. Now, I stumbled across this book a few years ago, and it honestly became one of my favorites almost instantly. If you are a big fan of kind of cheesy romantic, but not in the most typical way, this is the book for you. And it has now been made into a Netflix movie, and they're making the sequel soon, so I'm excited for when the sequel comes out. And I honestly adored the movie, but nothing is quite like the book, and I have reread this book and the other 2 books in the series so many times. They fill me with so much warmth and happiness, and it inspired me actually to start writing letters to boys I want to get over. But those will never be released, unlike The Wonderful Lara Jean. And this book, it's just so amazing, and it's great to see representation for the Asian community in a book series because stereotypically there isn't much representation. And Jenny Han is such an amazing author. I am also obsessed with her series, The Summer I Turned Pretty, but nothing tops To All the Boys I Loved Before, I'll be honest. It is just such an amazing book, and I can't wait for her to someday release another series because I just enjoy her writing so much. So the next book I'm going to talk to you guys about is Bookish Boyfriend's A Date with Darcy by Tiffany Schmidt. This book I got last summer because my family was leaving New York and I really wanted a book to read while I waited for my flight. And I love this book. It is so cute, and the main character is so relatable, especially if you are a book nerd like me and you are constantly looking at novels and saying, that's the kind of relationship I want. How charming is this boy? To All the Boys I Loved Before is a great example because we all need a Peter Kavinsky. But this book is so good. And the main character struggles with romance herself, with sort of a snobbish boy as well as an overly romantic, kind of eccentric guy, and it's just so cute and so good, and the main character is just so relatable. So I most definitely recommend Bookish Boyfriend. If you guys are in search of a not so stereotypical love story where you think it's gonna go one way and it completely throws you off by the end. So the next book I wanted to talk to you guys about is Nantucket Summer by Layla Howland. Now this one happens to actually be the two books, Nantucket Blue and Nantucket Red, but I stumbled across this book a couple years ago and I noticed that it was $11.99 for two books, and I was like, that is a steal. I am going to buy this book. And honestly, as a summer read, this is the perfect book. It just transports you into such a summery mood. You are on a beach most of the time, and there's some romance, there's some drama, and you know what? It just puts you in a really great summery mood. So I definitely recommend Nantucket Summer. If you can buy the collection with both books in it, or if you have to buy them separate, honestly, they are so good. Nantucket Blue is the first book, and then Nantucket Red is the sequel, but like I said, this is a collection, so it includes both. And yeah, and it's such a cute cover as well. I mean, how does that not put you in a summery mood? And I know we're getting towards the end of summer, but if you're in the mood for something that you kind of need to be in a summery mood for, you're like, it's almost August, like I don't want to go back to school, this is the book for you. So the next book I'm going to talk about is called Some Boys by Patty Blount. Now this book is a little bit on the darker side. It addresses topics of rape. If you are someone who is easily troubled by the topic of rape or the topic of sexual harassment, I would not recommend this book. It is, like I said, very dark, but it is also very eye-opening. And it is heartbreaking to read about someone who is raped and sort of their life afterwards. Now, this book focuses actually on a relationship between Grace, who is the girl who they say cried rape when she actually was raped, and Ian, the guy who is best friends with Grace's rapist, and how their relationship sort of forms, and it becomes apparent to Ian over time that Grace hasn't been lying about her rape. And it is really eye-opening, not only from a female perspective, but I also think from a male perspective, and how we sometimes look at people and have this assumption about them that they couldn't hurt someone like that. But it is possible for any guy to hurt any girl, and vice versa. It is possible for any female to hurt another man, a man to hurt another man, a woman to hurt another woman. Like I said, this does address a lot of serious topics, and if you are someone who would like to know a bit more about the topics, or who is just generally curious, I do recommend it. But if you are someone who has gone through a situation similar and it is traumatizing for you, don't put yourself in a situation that is going to hurt you. It is a beautifully written book. She also has another book which I decided to read after I read this one. That's why I'm not including it in this video. And that one is called Someone I Used to Know. So I do recommend Some Boys if it is not going to put you in a negative mental state. Now, I'm going to end this on a high note, because I have been talking about this book a lot so far this summer, and I am in love with it. And it is one of my favorites. And I've only read it once, and it is one of my favorites. But that is Eliza and Her Monsters. And as I've said before, this book is beautiful. It is unlike any book I have ever read other than Fangirl, but it is still such an individual in itself. With the different comic scenes throughout it, the different forum posts, the different methods of communication through it, it is just so beautiful, and it is so beautifully written. Eliza is a wonderful character, and she does such a great job of representing a character who struggles with her mental health, but it is also amazing to see her family's struggles with her mental health, because families don't always understand it as well, and I think it is exemplified very well in this, as well as kind of parents sometimes being oblivious to the current world of influencers and social media and how much it has an impact on our lives as teenagers and young adults today. So, if you are looking for a fun read that it's gonna send your heartstrings all over the place, it's gonna make you happy, it's gonna make you sad, it's gonna make you love, I definitely recommend this book. It's just so good, you guys. It is so freaking good. As you guys may have noticed, I only included singulars of books. So as I said, A Study in Charlotte is a series, then To All the Boys I Loved Before is a series, and then I also had Some Boys, which isn't a part of a series, but has another book written after it. So part of the reason I did that was because after I initially discovered the books, I went in search of the other books, either in the series or by the author, and that isn't what I call stumbling upon a book. What I define stumbling upon a book as is you walk into Barnes & Noble and you're browsing through the shelves and something just jumps out at you, you pull it off the shelf, you read the back and you say, this is an impulse buy, I'm gonna buy it. I do that a lot. It is a bad habit of mine. It's not a bad habit. I lied. It is not a bad habit, because if you want to buy books, buy books. It may be not the cheapest thing in the world, but buy books. They are so good. I also didn't include books that I stumbled across by authors that I had already read, because like Sarah Shepard, for example, I have read the entire Pretty Little Liars series, the entire Lion Game series, and when she released The Amateurs and The Perfectionist, I wasn't aware that they came out, but I knew the author already and I knew I liked her writing style, so I was just genuinely excited to read newer books. I really just wanted to make this video about authors that I had never read before, I'd never heard of, and these books just jumped out to me and made me want to read. So, I know this was a bit of a shorter video today, you guys, but I hope you enjoyed it. I am going to include all the different titles of the books that I talked about in the doobly-doo, as well as their Goodreads links, and my social media links plus my Patreon are also in the doobly-doo. So if you guys want to check that out or support me in any way, I greatly appreciate it. If you guys have read any of the books that I talked about today, or there are specific books that you would like me to check out, please tell me in the comments below. I'm always up for new book ideas. I am currently reading The Trials of Apollo. Yes, I finished Heroes of Olympus, so we're getting through. And I have a couple of books that I want to start after, but I am still so excited and I'm always looking for new books to read. I went to Barnes & Noble today, I went on Monday, and I found a couple of books that I took pictures of that I'm gonna buy soon. So yeah, I'm always looking for new books. Please like and hit that subscribe button if you are looking for some of my other videos. My two most recent videos are gonna be on the screen over here. So I hope you guys check them out and enjoy them. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye guys.